Okay.
So intimidating.
If you want to watch it before I post it and you're like, yeah, no, absolutely not, then we don't have to. So no pressure.
I'm not going to read all this. Okay. This is a little bit of the background of the labs we're going to go through. We're just going to follow along a developer named Jane Mitchell. She is new to Python, and she's going to start developing for her user story in for a project. It's basically like a to-do list, to-do project. She's got a user story. As a user, I want to be able to categorize my tasks by project so I can better organize my workflow. She's got these 3 tasks: create a class named project to represent a user's project, develop methods to add, view, and remove tasks within a project, and share tasks without a project are categorized under general. So she's not a Python developer. So she decides to use GitHub Copilot to help her develop. And has anyone used Copilot yet?
I think I installed it. I did no. The answer is no.
No? Okay.
No.
Has it try to look at people, they have their hands up. Okay. Well, it's I think it's built off a large language model, and it's basically all the code that's up in GitHub is fed to Copilot. It's an algorithm, and so when you start typing in VS Code, it calls an API and it makes suggestions for you on how you can complete your code based on everything that it's been trained on. And it also has a chat option where you can ask it questions like a chatbot. And this is specifically for code. So in this lab, we're just going to go over Python. We're going to use Python because Python is like the language that they use to program all the AI algorithms. And so this is like actually an early part of the course of building your own custom Copilot, but right now we're just going through the basics of learning Python with Copilot. So we're going to have a lab. We're going to do lab 1 and lab 2 today, which is learn Python with GitHub Copilot. This is just like an introductory lab with the basics of Python with Copilot showing you how to do it. And then the second lab is going to be developing the code for her user story. And then we have some prerequisites. So if you want to follow along in this lab, these are the things that you need to have. So you're going to have Visual Studio Code, a Python interpreter, so a GitHub account, and Copilot activated on your GitHub account, which is what we were talking about earlier. So I want to make sure everyone who wants to participate has all of these prerequisites. Does everyone have Visual Studio Code downloaded? I see something in the chat. I have used Copilot. It made me feel like I was the Copilot.
Yeah. So does anybody need help, or do you want us to pause while we work through the prereqs, or is everybody good to keep going? Because either they have all the prereqs or they just want to watch. They don't want to follow along. Joe, when you come off mute, I don't hear you. I just hear like this, like bump, 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 bump. So maybe type in the chat if you're trying to talk. I can't hear you.
Joe, we're just hearing a beeping noise. Can you? Hold on.
Hello?
Hi, Joe.
Yeah,
You can hear me, right?
a little bit. Yeah, it's loud.
Sound like you're in
Got
a
a lot
wind
of
tunnel.
background. Yeah, you got a lot of background noise.
Okay, I'll take care of that in a moment. Do I need to download your Git repo?
Yeah. You
What?
don't you don't have to download it. You could actually just use the links off of there and work off of that too.
Okay, do I open that in Visual Studio Code or something?
Yeah. If you download it, you open it in VS Code.
Okay, I've
This
got
third,
VS Code.
the third thing down that looks like a little, three little balls that are connected. If you have Visual Studio open, so over to the left. So like the first one is the two documents, and then there's an hour, like a magnifying glass, and then the third one down is the three balls that look connected.
I'm not sure.
Are you talking about the source control?
Yeah, right. So that's where you would hook up the Copilot, like the acronym, the GitHub repo.
Oh, do you mean how you can clone it?
Yeah, if he's trying to clone it through Visual Studio Code, that's where he would go.
Or
I
like
can
you
share.
can also download the zip file from
Mhm.
the repository.
Yeah. You also need to download the Python interpreter.
Is that
Don't
also
have
an
that.
extension?
No,
Okay.
this is here. No, I sent you the wrong thing. Since we're going to be running Python, did I send you the right thing and it's just giving me a weird. All right, let me
No,
share my screen. My whole screen.
so like if I already have Python installed,
You
I'm good to
probably
go.
have it then.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So it's at here. And you would download it from here. It's really quick. And this will help compile your Python code. Is everyone with me?
I only have Python 3.9 installed. Is that okay? Doesn't matter the version.
I don't know. I don't know if that matters. I think it's okay. I'm not doing anything super fancy.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if anybody needs Copilot activated, or let me start that over. If you need help activating Copilot, or if you need my information to use like a free version, just let me know. And otherwise, I'm going to continue. Okay.
Yeah, keep going, I guess.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. Prepare Visual Studio Code. Should I just, I'm trying to share just my VS Code instance. All right.
Yeah,
And
that's all I see. I just see your VS Code.
Okay.
instance.
All right. So after you have Visual Studio set up or downloaded, you're gonna go to your extensions and type in GitHub Copilot and install GitHub Copilot. and GitHub Copilot chat. When you installed, Shannon, when you installed Copilot, did it automatically install the chat for you too?
It did.
Okay, so it might be a new feature.
But in case it doesn't, I also like updated, like when I opened up my code editor, it had to update before I even did any of that.
Okay. Trying to. Okay. And then you'll need to sign in after you download them. You'll need to sign in with your GitHub account. It'll ping you to sign in. And after you do that, you'll have this little guy here on the lower right. And it'll say status ready for GitHub Copilot. And you'll have a chat window here on the side. Anyone have any questions about the prereqs?
Does anyone want us to wait until you get set up? Or are we okay to go forward? If you want us to wait, type wait in the chat or come off mute and tell us to wait.
Okay.
All right. Carry on.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start lab 1. This will be file 4, learning relevant Python concepts. So I'm just going to read through this. Some parts I might skip, but this basically we're going to try out. We're going to have Copilot teach us Python. So objective here, utilize Copilot chat to learn programming concepts in Python. Jane uses GitHub Copilot to learn Python. So task 0, open Copilot chat in VS Code. We already have this completed. Task 1, learning relevant Python concepts. So Jane is new to Python. I was new to Python, actually, like a year ago. So Jane is going to open Visual Studio Code, click on the Copilot chat icon, and type in what are the basic syntax rules in Python. I'm going to expand mine. And I'm going to go ahead and type it. And you guys can follow along to try it out. And so you can see it's responding. So this wasn't as robust of like a month ago even. It's given me a lot of information where before it was only giving me this much. So, and this information is going to vary from like instance to instance because it's being generated on the fly. So this tells me Python has basic syntax rules, describes indentation, describes how you do a comment. It tells you how to set variables. It's going to teach you the data types. It just has like a list of all these data types and what they are. Arithmetic operators, how to declare a function, how to make a class, how to import a module, this is new, and how to throw an exception. And it's also going to like suggest another prompt for you, which is cool. So you can go like down rabbit holes. What are the different types of loops in Python?
My output looks different than yours.
Yeah, what are you getting?
I get the same text, but I don't get like the code blocks at all for some
You don't
reason.
get code blocks at all?
No.
Does it say like what the types are?
Yeah, like you're on which one? Operators. I see operators. Python divides the operators in the following groups, and then it lists the groups, and then that's it.
Really?
Like arithmetic operators, assignment operators. Those are all the groups in the list, but the code below each one,
Uh-huh.
there's nothing.
Same here.
Same there? Just making sure I'm not, because I purposely signed in on this individual account instead of a work account. Because organization counts are more robust. What if you type in like
So-
give me an example, or how do I write a for loop? Will it give you code then?
What was the exact prompt you used?
Okay. I did. What are the basic syntax rules in Python?
Is that exactly what you wrote, Heather?
Yeah, I copied it. And then I
Okay.
copied it, pasted it again, thinking that maybe it needed to learn what to show me. And I got the same result. I did type in, how do I write a for loop? And now I'm getting code blocks for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get code blocks either. But so number 5 for me is importing modules, not like I don't have that arithmetic operator.
You don't have the error. Yeah.
No, like on your what's your number 5 when you hit what are the basic syntax rules?
Yeah.
Like I don't get code either, but like so yours is operators, but my number 5, which is interesting, right?
Mhm.
Because that's why I wanted to know what's the exact prompt, maybe because my first prompt was a little off. I didn't have syntax rules. I just said what are the basic rules for Python.
Okay.
But my number 5 is importing modules. So
Okay. Yeah, it is different
Interesting.
every time. I mean, it's pretty correct, like
Mhm.
most, the vast majority of the time, at least with chat. It does, so sometimes it will like reference the files you have open. But usually it'll tell you if it's referencing the files. And that will have an impact on how it's generated. Because it'll also feed your question and like your files. But when I first did this, like I created this course like 6 months ago, I think. I mean, I got very basic stuff too, like this. Basic syntax rules. Statements must be written on separate lines. I didn't get this whole thing before. Um, did it give you another prompt that you could click on?
Yeah, I got another prompt.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, and then I get code when I do that one.
yeah,
Heather did.
cool. Yeah, this is great because it shows like all the examples of how you can use it and if statements. And this is a lot of a lot of good information instead of hunting it down in Stack Overflow.
Yours is much more detailed than mine for that as well, though.
I want,
Yes.
do you have the file downloaded, like this whole repo downloaded?
Yeah, I have that same page open.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I hope it's not picking up on my organization. Okay. So moving on. Jane wants to practice using Python statements. So she asked, how can I create a Python file in VS Code? I'm going to type that in. So mine's telling me open VS Code, click on the Explorer icon on the sidebar, or use a shortcut key. Click on new file, type the name of your new file, make sure it ends with PY, and press enter. And remember to save your work often. So I have some starting files in the start, or you can create your own file. That I just have here. So if you guys open a file, you can open up the practice.py file or create your own Python file. And when you start typing, it's supposed to finish. What's Control-Shift-W?
I closed the program.
It's not doing it for me. You know, it's sometimes IntelliSense goes over. Remember to test your work often so syntax errors could. Yeah. Is anyone else getting Python to or Copilot to finish it for them? I'm gonna disable my completions
I don't think I am.
and then enable.
Like if I were to hit print, oh, there's like the little Copilot, ask Copilot, or type / for commands. So if I were to say, how do I print? Copilot would answer, print hello world. It printed out and I can accept it. And then it will
Yeah.
add that to my document. So now I want to do like a for loop. Yeah. Okay. It did now.
I think Ed is talking to himself. Gee, Ed, do you know this? Oh no, I can't hear you.
Oh, Ed, are you answering back? It's not a good sign.
Oh, there it goes. Now my Copilot is triggered.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had to do the same? You had to
Yeah,
like ask Copilot
I
and
didn't have
then
to do
it
that
decided to come.
Yeah, same for me.
Okay. Huh.
Say, Jessica, how do I sound now?
Good. Is this Joe?
Great. Yes, it is. Copilot, I believe it's been around in some form for a couple years,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
What new features does it have since ChatGPT came into the picture?
I think the version we have now is still 3.5 off of OpenAI. But I don't know how often new versions are coming out.
does Copilot do anything new and different today than that it did not do a year ago?
Well, they're integrating Copilot into everything. So it's not just VS Code. I mean, they have it in like Teams, Microsoft Teams, and it'll transcribe meetings. It'll you can have a chat in Teams and ask it stuff like, what did Jamie say yesterday? Or give me a summary of action or to-dos I need to do, or what items need my attention. And it'll go through your chat and your email, actually, an Outlook, and it'll like highlight what you,
Yeah, that's interesting. So it sounds
yeah.
like you haven't really noticed any new features specifically for VS Code or coding.
Oh, for VS Code, I just noticed it being a lot more robust and accurate.
Thanks.
Yeah. And they've been adding more languages. What else has there been? They had a GitHub lab. Oh, you can also like have it explain code too, which is really cool. Which was what GitHub Labs was doing, but I think they combine them now.
Are there any coding situations in which one should be careful to double check what Copilot gives to you?
Yeah, I think like every time. It's not perfect.
Can you show us an example of that so we can be aware of that?
I think you'll see them as we continue the lab. They'll pop up. And then you
Thanks.
can say like, why isn't my code working? And it'll like debug your code for you. And it'll say like, well, we think it's here. And sometimes you just do have to have general programming knowledge. I think this is really helpful for people starting out. And if you're learning a new language. But I think it is, you know, good to have the basis in place.
Are teams seeing improvements in productivity when using Copilot for coding?
Yeah, yeah. They help us write unit tests.
Gr- Great. Has it been a large improvement or?
It helps with like all the tedious parts. It's like if I want to create a class, I can just tell it like, hey, create a class with these features, then it'll just do it. Sometimes I have to go back and adjust it. I don't know what percentage. Maybe like 10% quicker. It's
Thanks.
very helpful, especially helpful on unit testing. Okay. So let's scroll down. Now I'm going to practice writing some variables that Copilot fed me over here in the chat. If I do X, it's just going to finish it. And then if I try to do a for loop, or a if statement, I mean, which if I can remember, see, sometimes it gives you different stuff. Or give me a for loop. Now, if I want to test this, you can ask Copilot, how do I run my Python file in VS Code? And it'll tell you how. See, I think like the explanation here is a little more complicated than you need to do. Like here, this is an example of where it might get it kind of not quite right. Like here, it wants me to do this and then go to run Python here. But in VS Code, you can just, where did it go? You can just click this play button right here. Does everyone have this? I just realized I don't think I had everyone install Python and VS Code.
I have it.
Okay.
Me too. I
Okay.
had Python and I had all that. I had Python already set up with code.
Same.
So
Okay.
yeah. I just didn't have the Copilot.
So print this out. I get this. Jane is satisfied. Data types in Python. So Jane would like to know about data types in Python. Which, see, back when I developed, this is an example, Ed, back when I developed this course at work, I had to ask this separately. But now Copilot already gave me all that information earlier when I just asked about the syntax. So you can ask, what are the basic data types in Python? And Copilot will tell me int and floats and strings and booleans. Jane's user story requires a list of tasks, and so she will need to develop more complex data types than the above. So to learn what complex data types are available, she asked Copilot, what are some complex data types in Python? And Copilot responds with, a list of how to create a list, of what a tuple is, what a set is, dictionaries, and class objects, which are complex data types. Can add functions too. So to practice creating a list, we can go tasks equals, should finish it for me. Go. Okay. And then do you want me to continue on adding and removing tasks from this list? That's the next part of this. I'll just
Yeah.
continue.
And
Okay.
then the difference between, okay, so remove and pop. Pop just takes, oh, no, it does take an index. But remove will just remove the item. Cool.
Mhm. Yeah, like a stack. Remember those? And
I do.
how can I add, view, remove tasks from a list? So to add a list, you can use the append method. View tasks in a list, and just what we did here. Then you can remove. So now I'm gonna add these following methods to my practice file. Task.append, task 4, just print tasks. It wants to print hello world. Yeah, sometimes it'll suggest things that you don't want, and that can be really annoying. Task remove 0, task 1, print tasks. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. Okay. So you started off with all the tasks. And then you get another task 4. Remove task 1. Finally, I just have 2 tasks. Classes and methods in Python. So Jane sees that task 2 of her assigned user story requires development of methods to add, view, and remove tasks within a project. She wants to learn how to create methods in Python. So she's going to ask, how are methods created? Problem is, I don't have a big screen, so I can fit everything on here. Just so you know, when I asked it, how are methods created in Python, it says it's using one reference here, and it's using my file. Actually, it's using my practice.py file. So you'll ask it questions, and you can ask it more vague questions, like what does print task do? And it'll reference this file, and it'll tell you what it's doing within the context of this. So it's going to explain what classes are, how to define a method, and how to call a method. So Jane learns from Copilot, methods need to be inside a class. She writes the following code to define a class inside her practice.py file. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Class.my class. And then it might just finish it for me. I can do like a def greet. And it just like knows by the name of the method that it just guesses to print hello. So how do I call the greet function? So if I can ask Copilot this, and it's going to refer to my file. How can I call the greet function? You need to create an instance of the class and then call the method on that instance. So, and I can copy this code here and print it down here. Maybe replace my name. And I get hello group. Is everyone still with me?
I'm
Yeah.
just a little behind.
Yeah.
So when I asked like how are methods created in Python, it gave me the def greet method already. It didn't tell me that methods are created within a class. It just gave it to me like it was a thing,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately. Yeah, there is nothing in, I copy pasted the question, like how are methods created in Python? There is nothing in mine that references classes at all.
Okay. Yeah. So did you just you went over here and just typed the function without the class? Like that?
I mean, I didn't because
Oh,
that
okay.
was what it said. But like, yeah, the
Because I think, like, if you did that, you could say like, okay,
yeah, you could do it as a function and just back that up a tab
it'll
and
say code actions,
call it.
explain or fix it. Oh, that says fix indentation. It's not. Forgot Python's very. No, I'm going to type, how can I call the greet function? It's not inside the class. See, it's going to tell me if I ask it, how can I call this function that you told me to make? The greet function, your code is currently defined as if it's a method in a class to the self parameter, but it's not inside of a class. If you want to use it as a standalone function, you should replace self with a different parameter name. Oh. I guess, yeah. See, I'm still kind of learning more and more about Python too. I'm basically a C# developer. It's my And now if I want to call it, I can just do, so they don't have to be inside a class.
Well, no, but
I
like
didn't know.
in technical terms, it's a function if it's
Right.
independent and not inside a class. And I specifically asked GitHub Copilot for like how to do a method, right? So I feel like
Mhm.
not saying that it's like inside a class is like inaccurate,
Misleading.
right? It's not, you're not going to learn that that's kind of a, I mean, it is just kind of like a, yeah, like a syntax, like a not syntax, I don't know, yeah, like a I can't find the words, like a
Well, it's kind of misleading because it's not telling you best practices.
thank
Yeah,
you,
you
yeah.
can have files with functions and those are considered modules.
Oh, okay. So sorry. So in lab 1, we just practiced talking to get Copilot and getting answers. We got various answers, but I think the essence is still there. You learn how to do like basic printing, how to make basic variables in Python, do for loops and if statements and different operators. So our fictional developer, Jane, decided that she's ready to start developing her project class now. So I'm going to move on to lab 2. And this is where we're going to get into classes. So let me take a sip of water. It's like 90 degrees in my room. Okay.
I hear a
Designing
bird
project.
too. Do you have a bird?
What?
Do you have a bird?
You hear my, okay, let me close the window.
Oh, it's not bothering me at all. I like it.
Okay. All right, with the basics in place, Jane starts to develop the project class. She creates a new file in Visual Studio Code named project.py and writes class project. So this is actually going to be a class name project. I was really confused at first because I thought it meant like, well, I was working on this with a team and I thought project meant like the whole project itself and not just a class project when we were writing this. So I have a project in the start folder. I already have a project.py file that you can use. It's just a blank folder file. And I also have the end files of what they look like after each lab. Hide this. So she's going to write class project. And this is what it's given me. Oops. So I really don't want owner in here. I'm going to remove this. You guys might get other stuff, something different. I don't really want this string here. And last time when I typed this out, it actually gave me comments, but it didn't give me comments this time. I'm going to remove owner from here. So Copilot will suggest stuff to you, and sometimes you just have to edit it to what will work with you. Self name, I don't need description. I'm going to put tasks. So in here, when I originally did it, the init function, it's basically the constructor. It initializes the class's objects. Self parameter refers to the object itself, and the name parameter is the name of the project. The task attribute is a list that will store the tasks associated with the project. So you're going to have a list of tasks. You're going to categorize them under a project. Task 2. Jane's second task is, under her user story, is to develop methods to add, view, and remove tasks within a project. Beginning with the add method, Jane writes, we're going to start a function here, def, and it's already doing it for me. Is it already doing it for you guys?
Yeah, it did add, and the next one it did a get instead of
Yeah.
view.
Remove. Show. Oh.
I had asked it to like add a doc string to the top. And since I did that, I think it's adding a doc string to each of my methods, which is kind of
Oh,
cool.
really?
I like it.
See, it was adding these, I think, I don't know why it generates differently sometimes. Now it's trying to add a great method for me. Yeah, if I do clear tasks as a comment, yeah. So I have basic CRUD operations here. Jane would like to practice her newly created class. Below her class definition, she writes a few lines of code to manually test her methods. So I'm just going to do a hashtag and do create a new project and see if it finishes it for me. Add task project. Show all tasks. Keep going indefinitely. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna run it. Let me clear this. Okay. How's everyone doing?
I wasn't watching when you were doing it, but so my init,
Mm-hmm.
like it has a like a boiler plate. It doesn't have self. Oh no, it does. It has self, name, and description. And
Okay.
then it assigns self description. And then when I do add task, it created a body that just had pass in it. So did yours do that too? And you just like kept tabbing through other options to get that self.task.append?
No,
Or you
just
wrote it?
I just
You
wrote
just
it.
did it. Okay.
Huh.
Mine had pass initially
Mhm.
when I first created the class.
And you wrote in self.task.append.
Well, then after I had the init and then it wanted to add different methods. It did the add one, but then it wanted to add different ones than the ones in this lab.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly different.
Did it try to add greet? So
No.
towards the end, mine tried to add another greet method. Okay. Did you get it running though?
I did.
Okay.
How's everyone else doing?
Is anyone else following along on their computer?
I just need another minute. I got a little sidetracked because it popped up and said that it had found similar, like publicly available code. So then I went to that and was like, ooh, I could see this being useful. Like I feel like I'm frequently Googling like
Really?
example code that's similar to what I'm doing to copy from. Yeah.
Okay. I see Vic and Emily are following along. Huh. I've never seen this pop up.
Nice. So after I defined add tasks, so I just had the pass and I like went in and I said self.tasks.append task. When I did remove task, it filled that in. Like it, okay, I can see what she's doing. Now I'm gonna just write the whole body of the remove, which was cool.
It's interesting.
Also, I had to initialize again GitHub. Like it, Copilot didn't work until I asked it a question and then it started to populate for me.
Hmm. When you
It's
started
like
with a new file?
yeah, when I brought up project.py, it was just like it wasn't suggesting. And then I did the control I to ask it a question. And
Hmm.
I asked it, how do I create a class? And it went ahead and created my class project for me. And then it started to respond to as I was adding things. It was
Okay.
finishing my sentences. It's like a new puppy.
Yeah.
Needs to learn, needs to get to know me
Maybe.
before it starts following my command.
And I think like, oh, Vic just asked, I'm having so many problems with my computer. Will I be able to review the recording later?
Yes, it'll be on YouTube. Probably, unless it's for some reason doesn't get recorded properly, but I'll let Jessie review it just to make sure there's nothing in it that she objects to, and then we'll post it on our YouTube channel, which is just AkronWit, youtube.com/AkronWit.
Okay. I won't show my billing information or anything.
Yeah. I wasn't recording at that moment, so we should be fine.
Task 3, handling uncategorized tasks. Ensure that tasks without a project are categorized under general. This means tasks may be created outside of the project class. She realizes that a task class is needed to represent tasks and their associated projects. So we won't be able to do just an array because tasks will need to have a project associated with them. Kind of like a many-to-many. So under her project class, she writes class task. It's a tongue twister.
Mhm.
So I'm going to erase my code down here and start creating a task class. Okay. I think what I'm going to do though is maybe prompt it. Like if I do a hashtag and I go create a task class that has a name, has a description, and a project. There it goes. Go view a project. So not every task is going to have a project though when you create it. And all the projects, all the tasks that don't have a project are going to be submitted under the general project. So, which means that this parameter right here may not always be here. So J needs to handle tasks without a project, but her current task class requires that a project is given upon creation. She asks Copilot, how can I create an init function with an optional parameter in Python? This is something that not everyone will know. Come on. Okay, now when I'm trying to copy my markdown, it is going to. You guys know how to view markdown files in VS Code?
I was gonna look that up later because my
Okay.
like preview number 5, it's all text. It's not in Markdown, and I'm not sure why. It should detect it's a Markdown file, but maybe.
You can just click, so if you're here and it looks like this, you can just click, my God, the Zoom thing is in the way. You can click this icon right here, open preview to the side.
Okay.
And it'll open it in a new pane, but you can move it around wherever you want. Okay.
I've got these weird thing. Hold on, let me close them.
So this is going to tell me how I can make my parameter optional. It's referencing my project.py file. If a value for that parameter is not provided when the function is called, the default value will be used. Here's how you can modify it. And it's, in this code, task is an optional parameter if you create a project without providing a task. So it's giving me the answer, but for the project class, I'm going to ask, how can I do this? How can I create an optional project on the task class? All right. It's going to give me this code. So it has project equals none. I'm just going to copy and paste here. But I don't want it to be none. I want it to be general. Well, if it comes in as none, I'm going to do this. I can do set the project to general. Excuse me. No project is provided. Yep. It didn't do it in a one-liner, but
I feel like this is another case of like having some, yeah, like foundational Python knowledge comes in handy.
like, do you think Python in particular, or just any like programming? Any programming background?
I'm not sure, but this is like much more verbose than it needs to be. Like, project is an optional argument that's at the end, which is
Yeah.
correct, but you can give it a default value just right there where it says project equals none. You can just say project equals general. And then if you
Yeah.
pass in a value for project, then it'll assign it to that value. But if not, it'll fall back on that general value.
Oh, so
Need
it's
that if else block like at all.
will so if I do like project general, is it going to create a new project? Like here where it's creating a new project?
Oh, I see. It's actually the class. Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
No, you would, if you pass set project equal to general,
Mhm.
then you could just do self.project equals project parenthesis project. And that's in the real world how I would do it.
So you would go general and then
Yeah, but I wouldn't have an
project
if.
wouldn't be none, it would be if.
I would just delete that whole if else block and just do self.project equals, like on line 29, would be the only line I keep. Yep.
Oh, okay.
But But I suppose somebody could pass none in for project, so you might want. Like someone could actually pass in the value none for project. So you might
Mhm.
still want that if block.
If,
Yeah, there's many ways to roam, right?
wait, so if they just do like, now we're getting into it.
Yeah, we're getting into the weeds now. Sorry about that.
Wait, if I don't want it to have,
I think that was a good example it showed you there because, oh yeah, I see what you're doing.
so then I do, oh, you know, I have to assign it. Right? Am I doing that right?
Yeah, that looks good. So that would just be the description is learn Python.
And you could say print task 1.
Yeah.
Task 1 is going to be the result of view project.
But what I'm just says general and none.
Yeah, because view project is printing out its name.
Oh, that's right. And print
It's not
actually
returning
returns
anything.
none. That's right.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't want to assign that to a variable. You just do task,
Yep,
learn
you just call
Python
it.
dot view project.
What? You wouldn't assign that?
There's
Correct.
nothing returned,
Mm-hmm.
and that will just print out the project name.
Oh, and then I have to do, wait, so I have to do,
No, you could just delete line 40 and then hit run.
oh, because it's already calling view project. I
Yeah,
just
task is creating the
Alright.
creating the
General.
task and then assigning the project, and since it's default,
Mm-hmm.
the project. Now,
So,
do you have, okay, so then if you printed out the task now, it would print out learn Python.
you mean
Okay.
if I don't know, because I don't think it's not getting actually. I didn't declare a project. So that general project, I think, is kind of like not static. Like it's not saved anywhere. Does that make sense?
Well, you didn't assign it. So you did declare a task right there. When you did task, learn Python, you're creating a task, but because you didn't assign it to a variable, it's just lost to garbage collection.
Yeah. I mean, it should have created this general project, but I don't think it stayed around because we didn't really store it anywhere. So if I try to do like,
So if you did T equals task learn Python, and then
I did what?
if you did a variable,
Mhm.
oh, P dot project, I see. So yeah, there's a task and a project. Gotcha. Ah. So you created a task with no project, and it just assigned a general project when you created it.
Yeah, but you can't really call that general project.
Right, because it doesn't exist, because it's just a default.
And then you'd probably have to add this task to the project.
And you could add to the project, you could say, when you create a project, create like a task so that every project at least has a task. Is there anything stopping you from creating a task without a project?
No,
Nothing, yeah.
well, you could, but
Could
the
you?
requirements in the user story are, they're supposed to fall under general.
Okay.
So we're just defaulting them. What I'm gonna do though, how much more time do we have?
I think we have another half hour.
Okay,
We had 2 hours scheduled.
gonna do this. I don't know what class task. Now it's all worked. Oh yeah, this is probably not necessary.
There's a typo in that document. You
Uh-huh.
had, if you repaste that, what you had,
This,
task is supposed to be self.
thanks to
You're
update that.
welcome.
What if you said to it, translate this into C#? What would it do?
Oh, good question. If I could do that here. I mean, obviously my file doesn't like it. But it adds a description field, a project field, a project class. Project
Maybe
equals null, project equals
May-
null. Yeah,
maybe you could try making the changes you want in C# and then translate to Python and see how it looks.
oh, I'm just gonna continue on this. I feel like we're getting off track. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these lines here. Create a task with a project. And it's just gonna keep doing it. Actually, I want to create a project. Let's try running it. Okay. I am curious about that. So if I do it in C#, which I'm much more fluent in, and then translate it back to Python, I'll try it later. So here, Jay needs to make sure there isn't an existing general project before creating a new one. She decides to add a global dictionary, which I'm guessing this is probably not something you would also do. Jane decides to add a global dictionary to keep a record of all the created projects, which she can check against before creating a new general project. She adds a dictionary called projects to the top of her project.py file. I mean, maybe this would be the same as if you stored it in SQL Server, like in a database. So then you would query the database to see if you have an existing project named general already. She asked Copilot to provide information on the best way to retrieve a value from a dictionary in Python. Using Copilot's suggestion, she adds the following to her task init method. So general, project general. So if I ask Copilot, how to retrieve it'll tell me that I can use the get method, which is pretty cool, or I could set a default. So I'll go ahead and do that right here. Self.project. I'm gonna call the dictionary here. And if it doesn't exist, then I'm gonna go ahead and create it. So this will retrieve general from the dictionary. If it's not there, it'll create a new one. The get method retrieves the value associated with the key general from the project's dictionary. Okay, Jane then updates the project init method to add every new project to the project's dictionary. So this will be like saving it to a database. So up here, projects, set default name self. And this will add it to this dictionary up here. She manually tests her changes by adding a few lines of code outside her class definition. So we'll go ahead and do this again. Create a few more tasks. I'm just going to copy and paste these. Print all the projects in their task. So if I save this, oh, I don't have a view task. I have show tasks. For task and project. Oh, for task and project. I'm going to copy what I had up here. My project's not running. Is everyone else getting their stuff to run? And add tasks. Oh, that makes sense. I don't have a view task. Oh my God. I'm getting none type object is not iterable. Is anyone else able to get it run? To run?
View tasks is doing a print and that technically returns none. So that is definitely not iterable.
Oh, right. It should be like a loop.
Unless it's project.view tasks.
Right. There's a return self dot task. Oh, it should be tasks. No, this is, I'm under. Okay. Print self def should be returned. So happens. You try to live code.
I think you're doing great.
The demo monster always shows up, but
Yeah,
we
it
got
does.
this.
Okay, now I have print task view task. Task object has no attribute view task. Did you mean view task? What did I do here?
I think I messed you up in
No,
the
it's okay.
tabs. I was getting mixed up between the project class and the task class.
Me too. Uh, oh, you know what? Maybe I can showcase. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna have it do it for me. Maybe this will work. Hey,
Copilot works.
you can also ask it, like if I have something wrong here, could say like, what is wrong with my code? Why is my code failing? And then it just like did weird stuff there. Hmm. All right, that's the end of this lab. And the next lab goes into documentation. So after you have all this finished, she makes like, you know, a newbie's version of this project. She's going to learn how to document her code. You guys are both Python developers, so like, I feel like you already know how to do this. But this is also just like showcasing what Copilot will teach you. So
Right,
now, huh?
and is that part of next week's, or are we doing that? Not next week's, but part 2.
This is actually part 2 for it could do it next week. I don't even know if the following 2 will be enough because you guys are moving actually pretty fast. The next ones are documentation, which is just different types of documentation, doc strings, block comments, and then testing, unit testing, which is pretty cool, I think. So we could just wrap this up right now.
Yeah, we'll wrap up today. Does anyone have any questions for Jessie before we let her go? She'll be back in 2 weeks to do the documentation and testing piece.
Thanks, Jessica, for a great presentation. This is pretty exciting tech. Is there a direction that Microsoft expects or wants us to go in with this tech?
So we are being pushed to learn as much about AI as possible. They flew us out to like Redmond in February to go over AI and AI plans. They're trying to create like custom co-pilots for organizations so their employees can use, and they're custom built for organizations. So like you could, if I type a question in here, like a business related question, maybe not in here directly, but in another Copilot, like in your Office 365, it'll give you like your organization centric answers. They're also thinking about adding it's a thing like call analysis. So like we have customers who do like phone calls and they talk to customers all day. And you can have like a AI listen in and it sounds so weird to say that. And report on like the sentiment that's being conveyed, and it can give tips on like the person speaking to the customer on how well they're doing, and if how angry the customer is, and if the customer starts getting angry, it can like suggest things to the employee and how to mitigate that. Trying to think where else. Lots of cognitive search. Like I worked on a project where we had this company acquired another company that had like millions of documents, like just PDFs, and they hired another company to scan them all, and then they wanted them all classified. So we used Azure Cognitive Search. I'm not a data scientist, but I worked with the data scientists. I created a front end to host this search. So they were able to like they had the AI, it would read all the text that were on the PDFs and it would classify them. And so that when you searched using Azure Cognitive Search on any piece of the text, it would pop up which PDFs had that text in them. Just super cool. Like nobody had to like hand write it all out or anything.
Thanks. That's valuable information. Do they have some plan for teams to be using this tech, some future goal or roadmap or anything like that? Like with project management?
Oh, with project management, I know some project managers are starting to use, I think it is Azure DevOps, but I know personally, I know project managers who are using like ChatGPT to like generate user stories and features, or they will write emails using Copilot and it'll tell them like who the important people are and what to include. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, thanks. If you could have any AI feature to help with your coding, what would it be?
Like all the redundant stuff.
All the redundant stuff? You mean it would just generate the boring parts or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a particular instance because I'm already using it now to like generate unit tests. You can also use it to generate, I guess in SQL, you can use it to generate tables. If you just put in a subscription or description of what fields you need, it'll like create the SQL scripts for you. And you obviously, you have to look them over first. That makes it easier.
Can it do something like you say to it, create an app to handle visitors to a conference, and then it just creates like a template app?
I don't know if it can be that, if it's that robust yet, but I think it's heading that way.
Thank you. This was
Yeah.
great.
I mean, they're all in. I mean, it's like an AI, like a Cold War, or it's space, the space race? It's an AI race right now.
With all the big tech companies.
Yeah, Google and Microsoft and Amazon now.
Does it do a lot of work with, like, when Joe asked that question, I'm like, I want it to debug my code. When I mess up, I want it to tell me how to fix it.
Yeah.
Do you use that a lot? And is it helpful? Is it good?
I mean, I would use it here like for something I'm not as confident in, like Python's not my go-to language. So I would use it there. For C#, I haven't really, but it's possible some of my coworkers might.
You know why I think AI debugging is hard? Because debugging seems like a two-way process. Like, in other words, we have an idea in our mind what we want an app to do, but that idea in our mind isn't necessarily logical or correct. It's more like a general, just image or pattern or something. So it's kind of like we're co-discovering what we're making as we're debugging.
Yeah, I
So
wasn't thinking less about what I code and I'm not getting the expected result, but it's executing well. I'm thinking about like really hairy stack traces that something blew up and I don't know where the disconnect for that is, and have Copilot go, let me
Like
tell you
in
what you need to do to fix this exception,
like in telemetry. Like if you could go to like App Insights or
I just want,
any kind of logging and the metrics.
well,
gives
yeah,
you
I
or,
think she
well,
wants Copilot to fix her bugs.
yeah.
I think I know the bugs you're referring to when, like kind of like a multi-level or multi-stack level bug, like a bug in a networking stack that hits like three different levels.
Mhm.
And you're not sure what's going wrong where.
Right. And it's intermittent, right?
Mhm.
So it's, maybe it's only on a certain input. It's like the divide by zero error. like, oh, it works 90% of the time, but for some odd edge case where you get a 0 in the denominator, you're like, where did this happen? You know?
If you, I mean, you could try it locally, like if you mess up your Python file and then type in chat,
Why is this blowing up?
why is it breaking?
Yeah.
Sometimes it would give me a reason, but I haven't really tried it with C#.
Can I feed Copilot a file that was, let's say, written 4 or 5 years ago, and it's like this monolithic class, and I want it to
Ooh.
like refactor it for me?
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
Do
good.
that?
it'll do that. You can
I'm
suggest.
gonna try that. That's cool.
Mhm. Yeah, it's been really handy. I think so for me personally, I've been in a lot of meetings. I'm a team lead over like 6 teams right now
Mm.
on a project. It's temporary, but so I've been in meetings and I don't always pay 100% attention. So somebody will ask me a question and I can ask Copilot, what did so and so just say? And it'll tell me.
Really? Well, that's good. That's handy. Then that's worth
Yeah.
$10 a month right there. Is that
Yeah,
on a
that's on
Teams meeting?
365.
Oh, 365. So
So a
that's
lot of
Teams.
companies are starting to integrate it into their Microsoft Office. So in
Wow.
Outlook, in Teams, and if you're a Microsoft shop like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I
And
just got the
Excel.
notice. I'm in the 365
Mhm.
trial group. We'll see how that goes.
Won't it be great when this thing can attend meetings for us and negotiate things on our behalf?
Yeah, it's like a personal assistant, and then just let you know these are the things that you specifically need to take action on. We'll take care of the rest.
Yeah. I I had like a review with my manager and we have to write like essays for ourselves.
Wow.
It's very tedious. So I used Chat GPT
Mhm.
and I just adjusted it afterwards. And then I told her after the meeting, after the review, and she said that she wrote all because she has to write responses to me. She said most of her responses were Chat GPT too.
All
It's like
right.
2 AI talking to each. It's really surreal. Um, it's But I mean, it can be nefarious too. Like I attended a conference, I think it was Code Mash, actually, a woman spoke where a software company who does like telecounseling, or not telecounseling, just virtual counseling with chatbots, or not, sorry, they weren't chatbots. They're supposed to be real people, but they replaced some of the people with chatbots built off of OpenAI. And they try to they tried to see like how people reacted and people really favored the AI, but they didn't know they were AI at the time. The company didn't disclose that to them. So,
Mhm.
and then they found out and they got sued. But
Yeah.
but for a period of time, those people actually responded better to the AI therapists, which is really kind of disturbing.
Mhm.
I know they're really drilling into us about like being ethical and being responsible and having accountability and all this stuff. So there's stuff we're doing on the lower level. I can't, I'm hoping they adhere to that in the management level.
It just takes one bad egg.
Yeah.
Like that
I
one
know.
company that didn't disclose. It's just that's it. You start with
Mhm.
one, and then another person says, "Oh, I see how they got caught. I can do this and not get caught." And then they get caught, and
Right.
the next person. That's why we have to take off our shoes when we go through security. One person did it, so now we're all suspect.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're all kind of helpless to see how this goes.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, you would think like, so this thing's supposed to make jobs easier. People are worried about losing their jobs. And it's like, wouldn't it make sense? Like, everyone should benefit then financially? Like, if you lose your job, you should get a cut of the AI that took your job. Like you should
Yeah.
get some kind of payout.
If we had a society, I think there was, I forget the name, but there was a man who wrote like the 1930s that the
Mhm.
rate of technology would make it that so in 20 or 30 years we would all be working like 15 hours a week.
Oh, man.
And of course that doesn't happen. This was back in, over
Yeah.
almost 100 years ago that he was writing this. And of course it
Mhm.
never happens because we just try to squeeze the productivity. So it's like, no, if you can get your job done in 15 hours a week, what can you do in 40? We can get more out
Right.
of you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, we'll never do that, but wouldn't that be great if we were reasonable and we could? Some people might still choose to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week because they just love it, but some people would really
Spend more
enjoy,
time.
right, the productivity gain for their personal life to have more time
Mm.
for hobbies and family and taking care of themselves.
Yeah, that's why we got dishwashers and microwaves.
Mm-hmm.
Spend time hand washing
Yeah,
stuff anymore. We could be hanging out with our kids.
yeah.
I have a
Well,
question. So if I'm using Copilot
Mhm.
and against our code base, is this going like taking the code and going it out to the internet, and like how secure
That is a good
is
question.
that?
There's a lot of companies that don't want you to do that, and that's why they'll sign up for a custom Copilot.
Okay.
So yeah, I would suggest talking to some companies don't care, but
so they can upload their code to the public Copilot.
I
Uh,
I'm unclear, but I don't know if Copilot actually stores the code that you're asking about. Like if you're in your own file and you ask Copilot a question about your file, and it will send your code as a part of the prompt. It'll reference it. And I don't know if, I can't say whether it is actually being stored or not.
When I signed up for Copilot at the start of this, it asked me, would you like your code to be available to others as snippets or something like that?
Oh, wow.
I said no.
It's interesting.
That may have been in reference to, public GitHub or, if my GitHub code was public or something, then
Mhm.
may have been related to that, but it did ask me some type of question like that.
Okay.
By the way, ChatGPT says the latest edition is multimodal. It works with images and other things. Will that affect Copilot?
I don't know. I mean, Microsoft has partners with OpenAI. I don't know. Possibly.
I I, I typed in "show me a picture of Jupiter" and it said I can't do that.
Okay. And Microsoft has their own AI image tool called Microsoft Design. It's not as good as Midjourney.
Are you seeing clients demanding developers with these types of skills?
We're starting to, because in my department, I work with customers directly on long-term projects. And some of those projects that we're starting to get are like for custom Copilot.
Great.
Yeah.
So presumably these custom copilots would answer questions about a company's internal
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. And it would all stay internal. It's not gonna mix with Microsoft stuff. It'll be completely separated. I'm the only one on camera. I hope this was interesting. It's kind of a mixed bag. On one hand, it's really good. On one hand, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, sorry about that. I took a quick phone call because
Oh,
I thought it would be quick. All right,
No,
so anyone have any other questions for?
I don't. I want to thank you. I thought you did a really great job. This was
Oh,
really
thanks.
interesting.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you. It's really fun to.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, everyone. Thanks for inviting me too.
Yeah, it was so great you could do it. All right, so she'll be back in 2 weeks from today to finish up. And so everybody play with your GitHub Copilot and bring your questions if there's something that you want to try or play. It sounds like we'll have some time. So we have another 2 hours scheduled for that Wednesday.
Okay.
And so I think we'll have time to do things and ask questions.
Say, Jessica, are you on a Discord server or anything similar to that?
Yeah, I'm on Discord, but I'm not on a like I don't know what kind of server you mean. Is there a women in tech server?
We
I'm
have
on, huh?
we have Slack, but it's like private for women in tech or those identifying as women.
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn under Jesse Groot.
Thanks. Yeah, great presentation. I look
Oh,
forward
thanks.
to the next one.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jesse.
Everyone be sure to sign up for the next scheduled meeting on Meetup. It is a separate meetup.
And separate Zoom link, so it'll be a different
Yes.
link.
Okay. And I'm gonna leave my my repo open with the same password. So
Well, and add the Akron Wit one, the repo that you had open with the examples and stuff, so that'll
yeah,
be there. And
Yeah.
that'll go away after our next,
I'll have to stop the Copilot at least.
yeah.
I might put the documentation onto my main repo, but GitHub. Okay.
All right, well, thank you again, Jess. It's great. And
Thank you.
look forward to part 2.
See everyone later.
Bye, have a good
Yep.
night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.